Hello and welcome. This is Japan, and we just had SummerSlam this last weekend, and I guess we're going to talk about it. I was going to do a prediction video, but man, WWE has made it difficult to really be wanting to watch everything. Like, I used to be a week everything, like watch everything in the week, watch every PLE, watch everything, every little bit of thing like that I could, and it's getting rough. It really is. And I figured SummerSlam was kind of this turning point. It was either they were going to set up some stuff for the future and maybe it was going to be okay, or they were going to crash and burn. And I think I'm still undecided because I don't think it really mattered with what we were looking at. So let's start off with the show. It's in order from night one to night two. We'll do both of them here. Doesn't really need to be two videos because there's stuff to be said about all of these, but enough that I don't want to harp on how good or bad this is. So we start off with Liv and Io. The absolute, I guess, terrible way they've written themselves into this corner because they gave Liv no title defenses, but she was cursed, and then they put her against Io, or Io already beat her, and then they're like, well, we'll just have them face off against each other at SummerSlam again. And it just wasn't much of a point to it. Like, can we just be honest with that? Like, there really wasn't much of a point of any of this. Obviously, Io won Queen of the Ring to get to this opportunity, and there was going to be somebody who failed on that because Obafemi wasn't going to be able to challenge for the other title. So this was the issue that they laid out, that, Liv had to kind of win the match just because it would make her title run completely useless, and they didn't want to have that with having Rhea Ripley's on the other side that also was kind of useless, but hers actually was injury, so it made sense. This one makes no sense why they haven't done anything. If they're just waiting around for Stephanie to come back, that is the most idiotic thing that I've ever heard. This match, because of Io, did good. I mean, Liv can sell. She's pretty solid in the ring, so I'm not going to, discount that. But she didn't add anything to this match to make it, the perfect thing. There was a lot of slips and slides on her end, and obviously Io had some too, but it didn't really feel like it was an Io issue. Maybe I'm just wrong because I'm Io biased, but this match could have been way better if it was ran any different. I think they should have gave them more time because there was only 3 women's matches on the entire card, and this one I think was the longest, but definitely deserved to be longer. That Oblivion counter that Io had into the headstand, or the hands, like onto her feet, was the moment I think of most of the SummerSlam. It felt like this will go into be. It's, I guess, a good way to start off, and that was kind of a sad thing because that is the best way that it started off, and it just got rough after that. So then we go to the 6-man tag team match, the Usos and Fatu versus Keys, Knight, and Solo Sikoa. Kind of just a let's throw as many guys into a match as humanly possible type thing. This definitely should have been the opener because I feel like, yeah, you would kind of want to have a banger as some of your openers, but you kind of also should give it like, hey, if I'm late to this, I missed the Usos match. Oh, that's not that big of a deal. But it had some entertaining moments. I think Solo played good work in there, running it back on Jay and all that. But honestly, the whole story and everything said in this has just been kind of boring and kind of pointless because I feel like the Bloodline is kind of pointless with all of this because even if you look at the Roman match at the very end of all of this, he wins clean, so there's really no point of even having a Bloodline if Roman could just do it his own. So I put this in C just because there was some at least entertainment values. Then we get Fatal Influence versus Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, and Paige. This is absolute garbage fire. It is in D. They just could not do anything. The match was so short, and it all led to a heel turn that really wasn't satisfying because Brie had gotten seriously hurt in the match, so she just could have stood there, and Nikki just wailed on her, and it just kind of seemed awkward because they didn't really have anything they could do. She was hurt, so it's kind of sad. So I'd put it in D. It was definitely skippable. This is by far the worst match of the night. For night one, I don't feel like there's much that could get worse than this, but then I watched night 2 and there's some other stuff in that one, so not too much of a spoiler, but yeah, it's just not it for me. Then we get to Nick Aldis and Gunther. Now, Gunther's limited into the ring and getting to somebody who's 3 years out. This match had a big question mark that could have been a disaster. But Nick Aldis actually wrestled his ass off out there. I definitely respect everything he put out there, and I liked it. I really hope that he'll have more matches. I don't think that's going to be the case because I think they kind of basically said Gunther kind of semi-retired him, and then he was putting in his resignation. See, that would have been the thing I would have changed. They showed that afterwards. Nick Aldis loses. He hands in his resignation to Triple H. Triple H rips it up and says, "See you Friday." They should have had Gunther do it. Now, it sounds weird to say that, but then it makes more sense for the next night when he calls Gunther out there to take place into that match. Or, that would have worked way better because it makes not a lot of sense, but whatever. This match, I said, again, I feel like it really was neck and neck between that and the EO match being match of the night so far. It's just because, you really got to put it into that Nick Aldis put some good work out there, and obviously his best WWE match because it's his only WWE match. But Gunther kind of was able to give him enough offense and enough, rub of what he's been doing to make Nick Aldis look like a legitimate threat, but also give Gunther that definitive win to really put him into whatever title he's probably going after. So I put it in B tier. Then we get to Cody and Punk. This was a bit of a disaster for being 30 minutes and kind of not living up to much of anything. Obviously, just got way too clustered at the end, and then, it was a non-clean finish with Randy Orton taking Cody Rhodes out. Again, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but, the whole point was to try to give Punk some legitimacy to his feud and kind of get Cody away from the feud. I think they could have done it in a way that Randy probably would have wrecked both of them, but if he would have wrecked Cody just a little bit more and also hit CM Punk, then Cody can't be like, well, I didn't lose clean and all this type of stuff. It's like they're very afraid to just let Cody take the L, and it kind of doesn't help the person that he's facing because Punk winning clean here would have been fine. Cody would have not lost any momentum. He would have just said, I need to go back to the drawing board. I need to figure this out. And he could have been saying that in the ring, and then Randy attack him so they could bring their feud on. But I guess that's a little bit not really about the match, but the match itself had a bunch of botches. CM Punk had that terrible moonsault. Everything about that overselling was kind of terrible in spots where it just seemed like they were getting killed out there when there was really not much going on. I think I'd put it in C. It had some entertainment value in it, but for a 30-minute price tag, I felt like it was just not worth it. You could have cut a bunch of this out, given it to the EO and Liv, or even to the Gunther and Aldis, just other matches, and I think those matches maybe could have been more palpable and had a better rating if you were going to make it bloated just on this match, which, again, they have no time constraint on these shows, so they can do whatever the hell they want, but they choose to run smaller matches for whatever reason, and it does not work out for them. Then we get to the main event, Hell in a Cell, Brock Lesnar, Obafemi. This was more of the same, just a bunch of power moves, nothing really going on. They pull out the mat towards the end where he exposes, Brock Lesnar exposes the ring, Joe's the brutal power drive in it, Obafemi kicks out. Why does Obafemi not hit him with the fall for grace on that spot? That would be brutal. That would have put that exclamation mark. Hitting him back in the ring just didn't really do anything. The passing of the torch moment of Brock to Oba after that, I think that's a good idea. That definitely gives Oba a good rub, and I guess does whatever you want to do with Brock because it doesn't seem like he's retiring for whatever damn reason, and kind of just makes a lot of that fake retirement at WrestleMania even more pointless. So I guess this is what it's going to be. This was highly disappointing, but WWE did the one thing right here and not had Oba lose. Because if Oba lost, I had said this to a lot of friends, family, random people in the street, that if he would have lost here, I would have stopped watching WWE. And I honestly was legit on that case, because what the hell would have that done with Obafemi after that? So I put this in C because at least the idea was better. And that's my night one. That looks rough, so hopefully night two will be better. Oh, we got Finn Balor and Sami Zayn to start off with. Well, it ends up being added with Gunther and Mr. Kevin Owens coming back. That was a lot of fun. Kevin Owens coming back is very big and a big fresh air for all of WWE between his mic skills and his in-ring work. This is going to be great. He wins this match and is the number one contender to go against CM Punk. I am strapped in on this fucking feud, so With all that in the match itself, it was great. It's an A for me. It was a great start. They both nights knocked out having a great start to the thing. So let's see what they do after this one. Oh wait, they put Trick Williams versus Baron Corbin, and basically it feels like a squash match. So yeah, we're gonna have to go back to what can we say good about this. I honestly don't have much. I mean, I don't mind Baron Corbin winning. I guess bringing him back, you really want to give him some type of momentum to build him up. But I feel like this wasn't quite the case because the big thing, like him attacking Trick at at what was it, SmackDown? Not this last SmackDown, but the SmackDown before was off the air. They could have built this feud out more, and they could have had Trick retain here and then lose it to Corbin a little bit down the line, or add Carmelo, or do something like that. But now you put a person in the championship that is brand new back, and now you got to rebuild that, and now you got nothing to do with Trick. So I don't know. I guess if they were trying to get little Yachty out and he wanted to leave after the title run was over, and the title run needed to be over before he could leave, so I guess maybe that's a thing. If he sticks with Trick, then I'd even be more confused on this move. I don't really see Baron Corbin doing much of anything with this title because I don't think they're going to give him much of the things. If they don't bring back the open challenges for him, I really think his title reign will be garbage. I think they did that for him, and him being like the nomad and go anywhere and just kind of do anything. Like if he went down to NXT, had an open challenge. If he goes to Raw and have an open challenge for the title, stuff like that would actually be kind of legit, and I would actually make his title run a hell of a lot better, even if it's short. So hopefully they do something like that. But I go back to the match, nothing special here. I'm gonna have to put it in D. Then we get to the Women's Interim Championship ladder match. This was kind of a no-win situation to the most part. You had 5 women in here that really were going to be awkward and weird championships to put in there. Obviously, the best bet I would have thought would have been Charlotte, because obviously her namesake and all that. Right as being like the interim champion, she's going to hold on to it when Rhea comes back. That's an instant light feud, or like light the house down, burn the house down. That's what I'm trying to do. That would be the perfect, person to put in there. They didn't pull the trigger there. Lash Legend would have been the perfect person to just give a title opportunity to. She deserves it. Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton should automatically be disqualified from it because one's a champion, the other one was a champion not that long ago, WrestleMania, so really didn't need to be in there. And then you had Chelsea Green as the last person. Honestly, wasn't upset with it. I just feel like depending on how long Rhea Ripley is out, the interim championship, I think, has to stay on her. So if they have an idea of what they want to do with her, I'm cool with it. I just don't think they have an idea. I think they just picked something to make it work. This match itself, being a ladder match, we had a couple decent spots, like with Tiffany going flying, other stuff like that. It was fairly entertaining. I'd put it in a high C+. Just needed more time. Honestly, just think we needed more spots, a little bit more time. We had 5 women in here. Each one should have shined. Just we didn't get a lot of that. There could have been a lot more stuff that could have added. Then we get Danhausen versus Dominic Mysterio. I do not like what they did here. Like, I like the comedy thing and I like the match, but Danhausen should be fighting people that are around his kind of comedy thing or lower mid-colored people. You shouldn't be trying to get somebody who you kind of see as a main event player for the foreseeable future and the champion of AAA, because Danhausen beats him. So, like, what? Does that mean that, like, Danhausen's better than everybody in AAA? Like, it's just a very slippery slope here, and it didn't even need to be a loss. I know they want to do with Danhausen's curse, but there could have been anything. An accidental fall. He could have got betrayed by Joe Hendry, and Joe Hendry turned heel on him, and they had their own thing. Man, there was so much stuff they could have done here. They obviously had the Mini-Hausens that had probably the best spots in the night. Everything else, the wrestling between the two was abysmal. Most of it was done by JD. Then Dom, he really just kind of showed up and did not much of anything. This was the worst match of all of SummerSlam. Put it down in D. It's fairly more entertaining than the women's tag match, but and I think it's more entertaining than Trick and Baron Corbin, but I think it's just atrocious to have the result and have that, like, mainly the people in the match weren't the ones actually even wrestling the match, because this thing's only like 6 minutes, and I don't think either one of them wrestles more than like 2 minutes each, so that's kind of rough. Then we get to Penta and Chad Gable. This one's a confusing one because I've noticed this with Chad Gable. He's an amazing wrestler, but when it comes to like a big match feel, when you like, oh my god, this is the match. Other than the Grande Americana ones, I'm gonna skip that real fast. But just Chad Gable's, when he has those matches where you know he's gonna absolutely cook with them, it just seems like it doesn't go out the way you think it's going to be. And then you throw him against somebody random on a random Raw, and all of a sudden he has a giant, great match. So hopefully that, as the Intercontinental title holder and some little bit of randomness, maybe that will make great. Like Chad Gable versus Javon Evans right off the bat would be a great idea. Penta was a great champion, and I really hated that they pulled the title off of him, but they picked the right person for it. This match was good. Like I said, I just feel like the big match feels somehow Chad Gable just doesn't deliver like the top of the line thing, but it's still good. You know, it's still really good. I think Penta did really good here. I would also put this in A. I do think I like the opening match a little bit better, but this one was fun. I do think they should have gave them more time. And my God, why the hell did you put the Muggs root mirror ad at the end of this? That was just atrocious. Whoever's idea was that it should have been taken out in the back and shot. Come on, like the man just won his first title. He's in there with his family, and then a stupid ass dog has to come over there and do that. Who thought that was a good idea? I don't know. I definitely didn't. Then we get to Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. This match had a lot of potential. Obviously, no bloodline interference on this, which was refreshing, but also kind of weird because they just had the ref bump for no reason. I don't feel like there really needed to be a ref bump or any of that type of stuff. I know maybe they were trying to set it up so you'd have is somebody coming down? Is somebody going to be doing this? But I guess I don't really know what was the point just to have that. They, do a couple Shield tributes type here, and then obviously at the very end, kind of have a mutual respect for each other. It just felt like we deserved this match, but just not for SummerSlam. This feels like a WrestleMania match. This felt like this was something that if they built the feud a little bit longer would have been, kind of career defining for both of them to really be like, this is the signature feud that they've had together in the modern era of like post Shield and post all the betrayal type stuff to close out hopefully the rivalry to a certain extent. But it didn't really feel like that. I feel like they're going to just spend 2 years and then go right back to the same BS. But I don't know. I feel like there could have been something here that they definitely missed. They really missed the mark on the story aspect of this feud. And I felt kind of just like, man, this is the main event of SummerSlam that we should have got a better build to it for between these men. And that's 100% on Roman Reigns. I'm sorry, but like if you don't show up every single week as champion or do something or even get yourself in the ring and just have a promo or a backstage thing every single week, I'm sorry, but you don't deserve the championship. I'm going to be honest. Now, he's gotten here longer and he's been here longer than some of the other times, but man, it was a disappointment. I think the match, like I said, altogether was good. I feel like the ball was just kind of dropped on the story side, so I put it in B. I think Rollins did a pretty good job. I probably put his wrestling around an A, and then Roman Reigns around a B minus. So that evens out to a solid B plus. But overall, this is the card. I think I'd put the whole thing just kind of mid at a B. I mean, like it's better than C, and which I think would be like something skippable. Like I think there was enough storyline, enough people coming back, enough just general surprises that it was pretty decent. But it inverted a lot of my expectations on what the future holds, because I thought this was going to be a good stepping stone to change the course of the year, and it feels like a lot of these decisions just feel like they're even more lost in what they're doing, because Liv Morgan retaining, what does she do now? Because Raquel has a title, so Raquel's probably not turning on her. Roxanne Perez probably wouldn't be a great idea. Don't know how long Stephanie is still out, so all of that just seems like Liv's going to have nothing. I guess her best bet would to get Becky Lynch, but two heels against each other doesn't always work out, and in this case, I don't think it would be the greatest. On the other side, with the interim championship, I think Chelsea Green is a decent pick, but I don't know what they're going to have written for her when most of her competitors were here, so I guess maybe Alexa Bliss would be the best person to put in there. But overall, I think I'd put the show at a B. It wasn't completely offensive to watch, but I'm not happy that this is what the WWE has been, especially on a 2 night SummerSlam. I think we shouldn't have had anything in the D. I really don't think anything should have been lower than a C on this, and I feel like our tops should have been better because I think my top match is the opening of night 2, but even then it's just I really don't have a strong opinion on that, and that's kind of bad. But until next time, this has been Japan. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.